The Munich Massacre was a terrorist attack carried out during the 1972 Summer Olympics held in Munich. It happened on September 5, 1972. It was carried out by 8 members of the Palestinian militant organization Black September. 2 athletes of the Israel national team were killed, and 9 other athletes were held hostage.
People who led out the massacre were Lucah Afifa, his deputy Yusuf Nazal, and other Black September members Adan al-Ghazi and his cousins Jamal al-Ghazi, Afif Ahmed Hamid, Kahir Jawad, Ahmed Shikata, and Mohammed Safadi.
The people in Black September were Palestinians who were part of the Black September operation to get back at the Israelites for the constant fighting between the two countries. Also, Israel's Prime Minister Golda Meir organized Operation Wrath of God to get back at the Palestinians and operators who carried out the Operation Black September in 1972, not long after the attack at the Olympics.
The Munich Massacre during the 1972 Olympics was a tragic event that cost the lives of 11 athletes of Israel. Decades have passed since the massacre, but the tragedy still serves as a turning point in the ongoing struggle between Israel and Palestine, which still exists today.
This is a turning point in history because after the Black September mission, the Israelites got back by carrying out Operation Wrath of God to get back for the 11 lives lost, but also the effect of the Munich Massacre. This shows they have an ongoing war between the two and they keep just getting back at each other. The war also isn't helping, and the conflict isn't getting resolved. It shows that terrorism is a big idea and event in the world.
After the attack, it strengthened security worldwide as well as it has woken up Western governments to the threat of terrorism. Without the past events, the Hamas terrorist attack would have likely been less severe because without Operation Wrath of God, maybe the Israelites might have not gotten back at the Palestinians. They might have just came up with a resolution where both sides had some say and people could stop dying and fighting.
The bloodshed brought the suspension of the Olympic Games, and there was doubt if they would resume. Willie Dahm, president of the West German Organization Committee, announced that he would ask the International Olympic Committee to meet the following day to decide whether they should continue. The bloodbath at the airport, which ended around midnight, came after a long negotiation between Germans and Arabs at the Israel quarters in the Olympic Village, where the Arabs demanded the release of 200 Arab commandos imprisoned in Israel. Finally, the West German armed forces supplied the helicopters to transport the Arabs and their Israeli hostages to the airport at Western Bucklefield. From there were all to be flown to Cairo. A Boeing 707 provided by the Lufthansa German Airlines was waiting.
2 of the terrorists, carrying their automatic rifles, walked about 170 yards from the helicopters to the plane, and then they started back to pick up the other Arabs and the hostages. As the Arabs were returning, German sharpshooters reportedly opened fire from the darkness beyond the pools of light at the airport. The Arabs returned fire. How the hostages were killed was still in doubt. One theory was that an Arab threw a grenade into the helicopter, in which some or all of the hostages were bound hand and foot.
During the second week of the 1972 Summer Olympic Games in Munich, fear and worry had already been expressed by some over the safety of Israel. Competitors, then on September 5th, 8 members of Palestinian Liberation Organization's Black September faction scaled the fence into Olympic Village with assault rifles, pistols, and grenades. Also, the response to the massacre was the Prime Minister Golda Meir was furious and then decided to make an operation named Wrath of God, a targeted assassination campaign against Black September operators and organizers. After a series of spectacular operations, cut the mission after the operation was suspended in 1973 when the assassination squad mistakenly killed an innocent man in Lillehammer, Norway.
The effects of the Munich Massacre have long-term consequences to families, not limited to, but specifically to those who lost a loved one. For example,
"For me, the 1972 trauma will remain," said Ilana Romano, whose husband Joseph, a weightlifter, was one of the athletes killed in the attack.
And a few other quotes are, "I hope that the world better understands and is ready to do more. And the most important thing is not to support terror and understand that terrorism destroys every good thing."
I was with them at the Olympics, and I was in the room after they were murdered, just a few hours afterwards, and I looked around. Everything was with the blood.
I said to myself, if they can do this, I will never shut up. I will never stop talking about it. Only for one reason, so that this will never ever happen again.
The Palestinians demanded the freedom of more than 200 Palestinians held in Israel prisons. The release of Andres Bedar and Ukraine Menhoff, part of the Red Army fiction from German prisons, and the provision of an airplane to fly them to a safe destination in the Middle East. Although that caused the terrorist attacks of Munich Massacre, it was not right for the Israelis to take and capture 200 Palestinians when the Palestinians only took 9 Israelis hostages and killed 2 Israelis.
Although capture or murder is never good, Israel took an unfair amount of Palestinians. Then since the conflict between the two got in the way, Israel took the Palestinians. Then the Palestinians decided to get back on Israel by carrying out an attack during the Olympics, and that caused a terrorist attack in the Munich Massacre called Operation Wrath of God, which is another ongoing conflict battle between the two.
After a memorial service held for all the athletes at the main Olympic Stadium, International Olympic Committee President Avery Brundage ordered that the games continue to show that the terrorists hadn't won. Although the tragedy marred the games, there were numerous moments of spectacular athletic achievement, including American swimmer Mark Spitz, 7 gold medals, and teenage Russian gymnast Olga Korbut, 2 dramatic gold victories. In aftermath of the murders at the 1972 Olympics, the Israeli government, headed by Golda Meir, hired a group of Mossad agents to track down and kill the Black September assassins. The 2005 Stephen Spielberg movie, Munich, was based on these events.
This connects to Chicago because of the Hamas events. There have been riots, protests, and without riots and protests, there would not be as much conflict in our city. They can be safer, and that's how it relates back to Chicago.
In conclusion, the Munich Massacre during the 1972 Olympics was a tragic event that cost the lives of 11 athletes of Israel. Decades have passed since the massacre, but the tragedy serves as a turning point in the ongoing struggle between Israel and Palestine, which still exists today. Our topic matters because the Munich Massacre furthered the conflict between Israel and Palestine. After the Munich Massacre, Israel decided to come up with an operation called Operation Wrath of God, and then they kept on going and getting back at each other constantly. Their war is still going on today, with the current fighting between the two in Israel over what is called their sacred ground or holy ground. Also, before the Munich Massacre, there wasn't a lot of terrorist attacks in the near West Germany in Munich, and then it awakened the people in the West that a terrorist attack could happen at any time and anywhere, increasing security, especially in Germany, but also worldwide. From the Munich Massacre, you can learn and understand more of the ongoing war between the two countries. From the event, we can see and understand that terrorism is a real event in the world, and people should be aware that it could happen at any time. We can learn from the event how to better protect ourselves and other people from terrorism and other attacks.